It was yours truly and C and poor Tony that crewed that day and everything like that. The AM were wicked bright and us a bit sick, however. We scored our wake-ups boosting some items at a sidewalk sale in the Harvard Square where it was warm up and the snow coming off awnings, and then later poor Tony ran across an old Patty citizen type of his old acquaintance from like the Cape. And poor Tony got over and pretended like he would give a blowjob on the house, and we got the citizen to get in his ride with us and crewed on him good. And we got enough dollars off the Patty type to get straightened out for true all day and crewed on him hard. And C wanted we should eliminate the Patty's map for keeps and everything like that and take his ride to this understanding slope strip shop he knows in Chinatown. But poor Tony turns white as a shit and said by no means and put up an argument and everything like that. And we just left the type there in his vehicle off Memorial Drive. We broke the jar for incentive not to eat no cheese, and C insisted and was not to be denied. And we took off one ear, which there was a mess and everything like that, and then C throws the ear away after in a dumpster. So yours truly is like, so what was the exact point to that like? The dumpster was with the dumpsters out by Steve's Donuts in the infield square. We go back to the Brighton projects to cop, and Roy Tony was always there on his bench in the playground in late AM, but now all the project niggas was awake and out on the playground, and it was tense, but it was daytime and everything like that, and we cop half a bundle from Roy Tony, and we go down to the library at Copley, where we stash our personal works when we crewed, and went into the men's room, where there were several works on the floor already that early, and got straight into the stall, and C and yours truly had a beef about who shot 3 and who got 2, and we made poor Tony give us up his third bag. And then, but we had to cop for that night and tomorrow AM still, which was Xmas, and had to cop in advance. It's a never-ending struggle. It's a full-time job to stay straight. And there was no vacation for Xmas at any time. It's a fucking bitch of a life. Don't let anybody get over on you different. And back we go to Harvard Square. However, on arrival, poor Tony wanted he should hang for lunchtime with his red leather fags in the bow and arrow. And pretty much I can tolerate fags when alone. But together, yours truly, I can't fucking stand fags. And yours truly and C said, fuck this shit. And we screwed out and go up to the Central Square, where it was cooling off and the awnings refreezing and everything like that, and snowing, and boosted NyQuil at the CVS drug, where we go to the mop aisle and employ a mop handle and tilt in the mirror over the NyQuil aisle, and boosted NyQuil in C's coat and got messed up on NyQuil, and scored a book bag off a foreign slope student type kid on the Red Line platform, but it only had books and discs, and the disc case was fucking plastic, and into a dumpster with it goes. But also at this time, we come up from running into Kelly Vinoy, that was working her corner by the dumpster by Cheapo Records in the square, by the email place, and she's dope sick having a conversation with Equus and another man. And Equus said, he said Stokely Darkstar just got free tested again at the Fenway and confirmed a big boot 8.8 he's got the virus for sure. And Purple Boy said, he said Darkstar said how if he was going down, he didn't give a shit and wasn't going to give a shit if he gave some others the virus through transmission. And the word was out and about, don't share Stokely Darkstar's works. Don't use works off Stokely Darkstar no matter how sick you are, even if you're dying for it, to get other works. Like C said, anything would count in your mind when you're sick, and it copped and was minus works and Darkstar had works. We all, every crew with heads left, have personal works for only ourselves that we use, except blown-out old hoes like Kelly and Purple Boy. Their man takes their dollars in their works, and he's the only one can give them their shots, and keep Kelly just this side of dope sick 24/7 for incentive for her to make him more dollars and everything like that. There's nothing worse than a pimp, and Boston pimps are the worst. They're 10 times worse than NYC pimps that are superest to be so heartless in NYC, where yours truly peddled ass in the Columbus Square for a time of my youth, like Stokely Darkstar before departing for greener pastures. And we had a conversation But we're coming down, and it was getting dark and snowing for a white Xmas, and if we didn't crew before like 2200, Raw Tony's niggers would be too drunk to keep them from beefing with us, and there'd be a beef and everything like that if we go to cop after 2200, and who needs a grief? So back we redline to the Harvard Square, and all the foreign students are in the bars, and we locate poor Tony smoking hash with fags like a Arbonne paint, and say, let's roll a foreign student stuck here for Xmas in the bars and cop before 2200. And so we all go on the ice from the frozen melted snow to the bow and arrow in the square with poor Tony and Lola's sister and Susan T. Cheese, who I fucking can't stand, and got in there and made Susan T. Cheese buy beers, and we wait, and no students are leaving alone to roll, but an older type individual who anybody could see is no student, but is legless on shots alone at the bar, fucking shattered, slumped over, is getting ready to depart for green pastures, and poor Tony lets Lola's sister to screw. She crews with poor Tony sometimes, but not if it's wet work, and with C's involvement, it's always wet work. And yours truly, I informed Susan T. Cheese. She knew better than not to screw as well, and the older individual departs, shattered, and holding on to walls, in a high-class and promising coat for the possibility of money. He turns his old nose this way and that and everything like that. Through the bow and arrow window, he wipes the steam off and has a conversation with the Santa Claus ringing a big bell for the kettle, and we're like, Jesus, it's a never-ending struggle to wait and cop. But after a while, finally, after stiffing the Santa Claus, we watch he picks a direction, finally. At last, up Massachusetts Avenue toward the Central Square on foot, and poor Tony beats it around the block to get up in front of him around the block on the ice, and his fucking heels, and feather snake around his neck and gets him. Somehow, poor Tony always knows how over to the dumpsters alley by Bay Bank off Sherman Street, and yours truly and C crew on the individual and roll him, and C messes up his older map to a large degree. And we leave him in no condition to eat cheese in a snowdrift of material under the dumpster. And C again wants to siphon out a vehicle on Mass Ave and set him on fire, but he has $400 on his person, and then some, and a coat with a furry collar and a watch we really scored, and C even goes so far to take the non-student shoes, which they don't fit, and in the dumpster they go. But back we go to the Brighton projects, but it's post 2200. It's too late. Roy Tony hasn't got his piss boys out. He's not open for commerce, and yet it is like a nigger convention in the playground of the Brighton projects, with their glass pipes and their Crown Royal and purple bags and everything like that in the playground of the projects. And if they smell we're holding this kind of dollar amounts, they will crew on us in numbers. They're animals at night with their purple velvet bags and pea-dope and ready rock crack. One large nigger in a Patriots hat has a hot incident, and down he goes on the blacktop by the swing set right in front of us, and none of his brothers, unquote, goes so far as to do anything. He lays there. They're animals at night, and we screw out with Ricky Tick Speed from the Brighton projects, and we converse. And poor Tony wants to just go over the line to the infield square and try to just cop P-dope from Delphina down by the Empire hangars, or else what else hang with the fags at Steve's Donuts and hear who else is holding weight in the infield, or Alston and everything like that. But Delphina's pee is from bunk. The word is out and about that it's all mannitol and quinine. You might as well fucking cop X-Lax or Schweppes. And C dope slaps poor Tony. And C wants to red line down to Chinatown, but poor Tony turns white as a shit and says Chinatown's too dear in dollars and everything like that, even for like bundles. Dr. Wu is $200, but at least it's always good, but we have $400 and then some. And C points out we can fucking well afford Wu's well-known excellent ski for once at Xmas. And poor Tony stamps a high heel and says, but how we've got enough dollars to stay straight and get Lola's sister straight for Xmas, and all lay up, and not have to never-ending struggle at Xmas, and 2 or more days after that, if we don't blow it on Xmas Eve in Chinatown instead of waiting. Which is a good point, but when has anybody ever known C to ever wait? He gets dope sick faster than any of us, and everything like that. And it's all piss and vinegar for Woo, and starting with the shivers and with the noses mucus already and everything like that. And C is not to be denied. And we say we are screwing down to Chinatown. And if poor Tony don't want to come, he can take a giant breath and hold it in the square until we get back and we'll cop for it. And poor Tony says he might be a dick-sucking fag, but he's not a starry-eyed maroon. And so, off we go. And everything like that with $400 on the orange line. And through a fucked up circumstances, yours truly and C almost end up raping an older type nurse in a white nurse's uniform and coat on a train, but we don't. But poor Tony seems white and distracted on the train, playing with his feather snake. And he seems in his mind maybe to recall an involvement in some type deal where Dr. Wu might have got over on and burnt. And that maybe down in Chinatown we could err on the side of low profiles and try to cop somewhere else except from the Wus. Except Dr. Wu is who we know. C is Wu's former acquaintance from crewing with slopes on the north side for Whitey Sorkin in the days of his youth. C is not to be denied. And so at the Orange Line T-stop, we grab a fat cab to about 2 blocks from Hung Toys and screw out of the cab at a light. And the thing with fat cabbies is they can't run after you. And poor Tony is pissed to watch tearing ass down the street in high heels with a feather stole. Poor Tony runs right by the front of Hung Toys. This by prior agreement to wait for us, low profile, down the street. And yours truly and C go in Hung Toys where they don't open till 2300 and sell tea, unquote, like 100-proof tea to all hours and everything like that. And never get inspected because Dr. Wu has arrangements with Chinatown's finest. Xmas is non-celebrated in Chinatown. Dr. Wu, a good thing about Wu is he's always there in Hung Toys at known times. Here there's all old slope racial type ladies sitting in booths, eating noodles and drinking, quote, tea out of white cups the size of a shot glass and everything like that. The small slope kids tear-assing it all over, and older men in Jew caps and skinny beards out of just the middle of their chin. But Dr. Wu is only middle-aged and wears iron glasses and a tie and looks more like a banker for a slope. But he is 100% business and ice cold all the way down for slope-type commerce. Plus, he's connected big time and not to be fucked or got over on if somebody has a head lift. And yours truly, I can't believe poor Tony would ever take part trying to crew on Wu. But he knows through C and even the smallest commerce. And if he did, C says he sure never heard about it, nor saw any other skeet or anything like that. And why? C's the one that knows Wu. We arranged poor Tony to wait for us outside and try to be low profile. It's sub-zero snow, and he's in a leather spring coat and stole and brown wig that's not as good as a hat. And he'll freeze his low-profile balls off, and C was trying to smile. And he told Dr. Wu we needed 3 bundles. And Dr. Wu was smiling in his slope manner, said the boost in life must surely be excellent. And C laughed and said most excellent. C's tight with slopes. He does the talking and everything like that. And he says we're going to lay up low profile for the Xmas vacation and not crew, because I had a rape type situation from an older nurse last night on the T and almost got pinched by the T's finest. And Dr. Wu nods in a special subservient manner he uses for non-slopes, who he's really polite with. But he's a dictator to his slopes when we see him with his subservient slopes. But with us, we're most polite and everything, like conversation. And it's nice but expensive, but it feels nice at the time. But Wu finishes his so-called tea, and Wu goes back behind the curtains in the back of Hung Toys. That's a giant bright red curtain with purple mountains or hills and clouds that are flying snakes with leather wings. That is one curtain yours truly would want to boost for personnel hanging use. That nobody that is in a slope and isn't in with Wu can never go behind it. But you can see when he opens it and goes behind the curtain. It looks like Merely More old slope ladies sitting on packing cases with slope writing. Even more noodles in bowls. They hold about like a millimeter from their yellow maps and everything like that. Slopes rarely stop shoveling in the old noodles. Stokely Dockstar calls them maggot eaters. And the subservient Slopes keep going in and out of the curtain while Woo's back there a longer than average time. And C's got the shivers and starting to Jones. And dope fiends are full of superstition. And he says to yours truly, he says, the fuck, he says, maybe, what if poor Tony really did take part with Burning Woo? And what if a Slope sees poor Tony outside and is one of these Slopes going in and out of the curtain, maybe telling Woo, like ratting out poor Tony as our acquaintance. And my mucus is starting and we're jonesing superstitiously over PT. And where's Woo behind the curtain and everything like that, trying to smile and conversation ultra low, drinking, quote, tea that's like schnapps, only worse and green. And we Jones. And Dr. Woo comes back, finally, at last, out smiling subserviently, with all the wonderful skeet, 3 bundles in a newspaper. Who could fucking read it? But the pictures are of Slope VIPs in suits. And Woo sits down. And Woo never sits down at the booth with the skeet. It isn't done in his commerce. And Woo's hands are folded over our skeet in the thing. And Woo, smiling, says, he asks C if we've seen good old Poor Tony or Susan T. Cheese around. We crew with Poor Tony in Booston Life. Did we not? He said. C, he says PT is a fucking dick-sucking fag queer and a proven cheese eater. And we fucked up his map, and Cheese, and Lola's sister's map, and a beef. And didn't crew with fags since approx the autumn period. C is pouring mucus and trying to smile casually. Dr. Woo laughed in a hearty fashion and said, excellent. And Woo leaned over our skeet saying, if we should happen by chance to see poor Tony or them, to please give poor Tony his quite best regards and wish him prosperity and 1,000 blisses and everything like that. And we promote the newspaper as skeet, and Woo promotes our dollars, and very politely out we go. And I admit yours truly wanted we should burn poor Tony and Ricky take the fuck out of Chinatown, but we go over down more by the China Pearl place, and poor Tony is sort of hunched behind a light pole with his gray teeth chatting in his dress and thin coat, trying to be low profile in his red coat and heels around 1,000,000+ Slopes that are all subservients of Woo. And later, after screwing out, we didn't tell him of what Woo said about sitting down and asking about him and Cheese's blisses, and we screwed the orange line to our hot air blower grate we use at night at the library behind the Copley Square. And we got our personal works out from behind the brickworks, behind the bush, by the hot blower grate where we stash our works. And we're eagerly into the first bundle, and we're cooking up, and notice poor Tony doesn't the least bit when yours truly and C tie off first in line, seeing as we're the ones that copped it, and poor Tony's got to wait as usual. Except I notice he doesn't bitch even a little. Normally, poor Tony keeps up his usual whine. Yours truly learned how to not notice. But when he doesn't whine now, that we're jonesing and the skeet's right there, I notice he's casually looking like every place but at the skeet, which is unusual, and see jonesing and with the shivers, cooking up, trying to keep his lighter lit in the hot air's wind, snow of night. I admitted, yours truly, I got a wicked cold inside feeling. Even with all this hot air from the blower grate blowing out from under us, making our hair blow around and Tony's feather snake pert upward, I yours truly get a cold feeling of superstition once more. You get wicked superstitions in this fucked up kind of shit life because it's a never-ending chase and you get too tired to go by much more than never-ending habit and superstition and everything like that. So, but I don't say anything, but yours truly, I have a cold superstition about poor Tony not whining while he makes like he has to casually piss and takes a piss, and the piss steams up around the lower areas of the bush with his back turned away and isn't looking around with interest or anything like that. You never turn your back on the skeet when it's partly your skeet, which is wicked unusual. which C is so eagerly dope-sick he doesn't notice anything past keeping the lighter lit. And so I admit it. I, yours truly, did, yours truly, purposely let C tie off and boot up first while I still cooked up. I did cook up unusually slow, fucking with getting the snow melt hot in the spoon and everything like that. Yours truly, I let the lighter go out and took more time with the cotton. And C had the shivers worst of us and cooks up the fastest and would have got it anyway. Later, with C's map eliminated, poor Tony later conceded, admitted Susan T. Cheese helped the Worcester fag get over on Wu for a fronted bundle in autumn is why. And all 3 bundles Wu give us in Slope News was hot shots, laced. It started the instantly C undid the belt and booted up. We already knew. Yours truly, I and PT theorized it was Drano with the blue like glitter shit and everything like that. Taken out by subservient slopes, it had that Drano-like effect on C and everything like that. It was laced, whatever it was. C started with the screaming in a loud, high-pitched fashion instantly after he unties and boots, and down he goes, flopping with his heels, pounding on the metal of the blower grate, and he's at his throat with his hands, tearing at himself in the most fucked up fashions. And poor Tony is high-heeling Ricky Tick overseas, zipping up, saying he screams Sweetie C, and stuffing the feather snake from his neck's head in C's mouth to shut him up from high-pitched screaming in case Boston's finest can hear involvement. And blood and bloody materials coming out C's mouth and C's nose, and it's all over the feathers. It's a sure sign of Drano, blood is. And C's eyes get beastly and bulge, and he's crying blood into the feathers in his mouth and trying to hold on to my glove, but C's arms are going all over. And one eye, it like all of a sudden pops out of his mouth, like with a pop you make with fingers in your mouth. With all this blood and material and a blue string at the back of the eye, and the eye falls over the side of C's map and hangs there looking at the fag poor Tony. And C turned light blue and bit through the snake's head and died for keeps and shit his pants instantly with shit so bad the hot air blower grate is blowing small bits of fart and blood and misty shit up into our maps, and poor Tony backs off of overseas, puts his hands over his made-up map and looks at C through his fingers. And yours truly, I take the belt off, it goes without saying, and don't even rethink or dream about trying maybe a different bag out of a different bundle from C. Well, how could Wu know what bundle we cook up out of first? So all 3 bundles must be hot, so I don't even dream, even though yours truly, shivering and mucus sick already, and now in payback, Wu has our only dollars to get straight with for Xmas. It might sound fucking low, but the reason we had to leave the deceased body C in one of the library's dumpsters is because the Copley Square's finest know it is our personal hot air blower grate, and if we leave C there, it's a sure pinch for us as known acquaintance and a period of kicking the bird and holding in a cell. But the dumpster was empty of material, and C's head made a fucked up sound when it hit the empty bottom, and poor Tony cried and whined and said he had no inkling that Beast Wu was that vindictive. And poor old deceased C, and how this was it. He's going to get clean from here on out and get a straight job dancing at a patty-type club in the Fenway and everything like that, and on, piss and wine. I didn't say anything. I had to rethink on the T to the squared, if yours truly. I should eliminate poor Tony's map for keeps, for payback, and how he purposely let C shoot up first, and would have let yours truly shoot first, even knowing, or make that cheese move and go back down the orange line to Woo, and try to get enough bags to get true straight eating cheese to Woo about the warehouse that poor Tony and Susan T. Cheese and Lola's sister with Equus crashed at now? Or like what? Yours truly, I almost was crying. It was when poor Tony took off his high heels and wanted yours truly, I should boost him like over the edge of C's body's dumpster to get back what was left of his feather stole out of C's mouth. That yours truly, I thought I decided what to do. But the connected slope woo wasn't even there in front of the hung toys curtain in the early Xmas AM. And then poor Tony departed for green pastures and ate cheese. And it took yours truly 2 days of kicking the bird in the hall outside my momster's apartment that for payback she locked the door before I, yours truly, could get in a detox to at least cop some methadone and get 3 squares to stay down in yours truly to start to theorize on what to try to do after I could stand up straight and walk upright again once more. The 3rd of November, YDAU.